on Sunday Night Lives and watch and go, oh my gosh, like drooling, like, so nice. Everyone looks so professional, and I know them, and I know that they're not as professional. Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Rachel. I am co-founder of Evolve. It is my honor to be here today and talk to you. This is super fun. I don't know if you guys have tuned in before. If not, welcome. If this is your first ever Evolve Live. If you are a regular, welcome back. I'm so happy that you're here. So today I want to talk about something that might be an elephant in your room. It's called procrastination. I don't know if you've ever done that before. Certainly I never have, but somehow I'm qualified to talk about it today. I want to talk about it because I feel like a lot of artists struggle with this. And I know I certainly have. My entire high school career was basically one long episode of procrastination. I'm pretty sure that when I graduated, I was homeschooled. So my mom was my teacher. And when I graduated, I'm pretty sure she asked me the day of graduation, did you finish everything? Like question mark. And I don't remember. So my diploma might be a little bit sketchy, but I am here, and yes, I procrastinated even writing the notes for today's live. So I feel like I am maybe qualified to talk about this topic. I think that procrastination in itself can be a tool if harnessed well, and it can be a pain if not harnessed at all. So let's get on to it. The definition of procrastination to me is when you avoid doing something that you know you need to do because you don't want to do it when you know you're supposed to. Is that valid to anybody else in the room? Perhaps not, but it is to me. Procrastination, oh gosh, it is just awful. And I struggle with it so much. Let me give you an example. When I was, I did a 2-year project with a church, and part of that experience is I would lead worship on Sundays, and I literally had so many opportunities throughout the week to practice what I was going to say to the church on the Sunday. Before songs or whatever. And I don't know if you've been to church before, but you talk a little bit in some churches before you start singing. And so that was my job. And I would procrastinate writing that, script or something, and I needed to because I'm not super quick on my feet in the moment. And I had every opportunity and wouldn't. And so 5 minutes before I went up onto the stage, I would be like cramming and major anxiety going, what the heck am I supposed to say? And so oftentimes I think I'd even try an Australian accent and be like, welcome church, and just, it was very cringy. And anybody from the church, if you're watching, you can attest, I was a huge word stumbler. And I was hoping that I could harness procrastination well in that moment. One thing a lot of people might relate to is when you procrastinate, it's like you have superpowers in the last 5 minutes before the deadline, okay? It's like this adrenaline, and you're like hit with this superpower, and suddenly the odds are stacked against you, and you're like Tom Brady throwing a Hail Mary at the Gronk, and you're like, come on, dude, we can do this. And sometimes it goes amazing, and it works, and it goes down in history. And sometimes you have to change teams because it was so bad. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really football adverse, and I probably just lost a lot of you. But I guess what I'm saying is it can be a tool because there is a lot of adrenaline at the end. And I don't know if that's super addressed in the artist world, that procrastination might be a good thing. Newsflash. And it can be. You need to really know how you work in order to harness any tool as an artist. Being self-aware is a key to really getting anything done as an artist, you know? If you don't know how your brain works, then how are you supposed to babysit the thing? And that's really what artistry is. I think it's just babysitting your brain and hoping that they give you a moneymaker someday. And I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so yeah, I think that at the end of the day, if you know how your brain works and you know how you deal with a deadline, and if you're like me and you procrastinate, you can harness that. So I guess the question is, how does your brain work? You know, maybe you should take a minute and self-evaluate, like, what is my workflow? How's my brain process information? What is my process for creating? What does that look like? When I'm met with a deadline, what's my reaction? Do I get going right away? Or do I kind of, sit and go, well, it could go really well, but you know what? I really feel like watching The Umbrella Academy instead. So I'm gonna do that and then see what my brain comes up with at the last minute. So there's a lot of different ways that people respond to deadlines. And if you're a procrastinator, I think that's something that we kind of need to work on and deal with. So in the last quarter, again, there's like this superpower moment, all right? And so what I started doing that helped me procrastinate is once I realized that this adrenaline is real, right? Like it's kind of a real deal. I feel like 10 times stronger in the last quarter. And then sometimes it actually works and it's a good thing. So I moved my deadline up. And that really helped me shape and harness this procrastination. And so that could be a really cool tool for you probably. You know, if you say, all right, let's say you have to like pump out like 10 graphics in 2 weeks. And I don't know, I'm not a graphic designer. I have no idea how long that would actually take. But like, let's say that that's your deadline, or you have to write an essay, or you have to finish a song or a song demo in a week or two. So what I would do is I would say, okay, the final product needs to be done by X day. All right, so in 2 weeks at 11:30 or 11:59, I'm sending, this person this project, okay? But my deadline that it is gonna be absolutely finished is the day before. And that's a new ballgame. And then if you believe that and you get yourself to believe that that deadline is real, so that you have absolutely no work that needs to be done between the day before and 11:59 of the day of the deadline, then that adrenaline is still valid. It's worked for me in the past for sure. Sometimes like if I I'm a performer, right? So sometimes before I go to perform, I'll like wait like maybe the day before I have to perform to plan out what I'm gonna do, which is not me. But again, procrastination. So I always practice before I perform, either the day before or hours before, the morning of or whatever. And what I ended up doing a lot of times is if I move that deadline closer, rather further away from the actual deadline of the performance, then I work a lot better. My brain just works way better under pressure. And the reason for me personally is because I get so anxious all the time during the process of things, and I would rather just be chill, And so if I don't have to think about it for 2 weeks subconsciously, I'll be thinking about it, and I'll feel like this nice Jedi balance between like not thinking but actually subconsciously planning. And that way there's like there's no pressure. And then the last minute when the game is on, I've been curating this idea in the back of my head for so long that now I have the time to actualize it. And so moving up the deadline really helps me. And if I make myself believe that it's true and say, for me, this date is the deadline, and the heat is up and this is the time, then yes, the superpower adrenaline moment still works. So for all them procrastinators out there, that is my top tip for that. The second thing is, I think that with people that procrastinate, they often have a hero complex. I mean, I could be wrong. I think a lot of artists have hero complexes. And what I mean when I say that is, like we feel like we are alone in our struggle. And that might just be me, but we feel like maybe our art is our burden and no one else can say it like we can say it. And yeah, some of that is true, but to the extent of, maybe no one else can understand us, and, I must produce this content in order to make sure that one person doesn't feel the way I felt producing this content. I feel like that's somewhat of a hero complex, and that can be, again, a tool that you use to harness. And basically, anything in your creative process that is stopping you can be a tool if you harness it correctly. If you think about it, writer's block can be a tool. If you think about it, lack of inspiration can be a tool. Procrastination can be a tool. So really, again, going back to knowing how your brain works is huge. Knowing how you work as an artist is huge. And how do you get to that point? It's a lot of listening to yourself. It's a lot of maybe even mid-process of a project, like taking a step back and going, that's interesting how I got to that point, and asking yourself questions like, what was my original thought with this? And what do I think needs to happen now? And sometimes what I like to do is, I have a really awesome niece, and she's very interested in music, and so we'll hang out a lot, and I'll have her come in and work on a project as I'm working on a project, and she'll ask these questions. And so it's nice to have someone in the room that maybe, doesn't work like you do, that can ask hard questions. Like, what are you doing right now? Why are you recording that like that? What's your end project? And maybe even if you don't want to include somebody, pretend that you're my niece and just have her in the room with you and think through these hard questions. And then you'll be able to kind of map out your process and how you work. You'll realize whether or not you're a procrastinator or whether you're a type A planner. And there's nothing wrong with either of those. Again, it's all how you leverage that. So yeah, I think that a lot of artists have hero complexes, and getting back to that, I would say how we harness that is, yeah, if you think that you would agree and you have a hero complex and you're the only one that can save society with your art, use that to your advantage. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it might be a little bit misconceptualized, but that's sometimes what I believe. And I go full on Batman when I write songs, like, and I mean that. And kind of seriously, like, if we take our art seriously, then other people will too. And don't take yourself too seriously, but take your art seriously. And I think that that's a very valuable tool. It's all how you leverage it. The other thing I want to talk about is lack of inspiration. I think this adds up a lot in the creative process. And I would say that writer's block doesn't exist. My mentor told me one time that it's just a lack of inspiration. And I think that a part of that is true, for sure. I think that you should always be inspired as an artist. Is that possible? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But find what inspires you and do that. If it's walking in nature, if it's going to a concert, if it's watching nature documentaries, shout out the Disney nature documentaries, do that, do what inspires you and do it like once a day. I mean, write down a list right now if you can. Grab a piece of paper or in the comments even, write down at least 2 things that you can do or that you like to do that just kind of fills up your mind bucket, that makes you wonder, wow, that's crazy. We live in a crazy, wild world. I love, and this is kind of stupid, but I love looking at photography on Pinterest and looking at how other people see the world is crazy to me, and how they capture things. It's so cool. And I don't know if I could ever do that, but it inspires me to to take my craft to the next level, seeing other people do these amazing things with their craft. So know what inspires you and do that as often as you can. And when you think you've done it enough, do it 2 times harder. Because I assure you, you can never be over-inspired. There's just no such thing. The world is never lacklustered of wonder. You will never get bored with the world. So please, 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 do yourself a favor, do the world a favor and your art a favor, and get out there, go hiking, do things that inspire you. So back to writer's block, I would say that inspiration and lack thereof is a huge contributor to that. But I would also say the writer's block doesn't exist because it's really just a cry for lack of discipline. And I say this as maybe one of the most undisciplined artists on the face of the planet. But I think that there's a level of discipline that every artist needs in order to go to the next level with their craft, whether it's waking up super early and writing down your first initial thoughts, or writing down your dreams after you've waken up. Like, I don't know if you're a morning person or a night person, back to going to how your brain works, you need to know these things and unharness them. But I'm definitely not a morning person. I can't function past a 3rd cup of coffee. Before that, even now I haven't finished my 3rd yet. So there's that. But I think that the morning really inspires me. So I try to wake up whenever I can and see the sunrise, even though I can't function. And that discipline of waking up 5 days a week to see the sunrise contributes greatly to my art. Having structured things in your life as an artist helps you create inside the lines. If you think of a kid's coloring book, that's really what we're doing as artists. How can you color something in if there aren't any lines? And at least for me, it's contributed greatly. And so what I do is, I'll set an hour and be like, you can do whatever you want in this hour, but you need to be working on music, And that way, my creative mind can go wild, and I can play piano with crayons and M&Ms, but I'm still working on music, And there are lines, but I'm still coloring. And I think that that's really important as artists. So whatever your craft is, make sure that you set boundaries and structured times in your creative life, and that will extremely eliminate writer's block. So discipline is really just a set of boundaries that you have as an artist. It doesn't have to be spending 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on your craft. Some people don't have that amount of time. I work a full-time job too, I get it. But you need to have structure, or there's not as much room for creativity, because what is creativity without a definition? A definition is boundaries, So I don't know if you follow that train of thought, but I would say that, again, writer's block is really just non-existent. It's an excuse for not having enough inspiration, or an excuse for not having enough structure in your creative life. So if you're like me and you're procrastinating because you can't quite think through things, and your excuse is, I just can't create because I'm just blocked up, get inspired. And when you think you've gotten inspired enough, go out and do it 2 more times, get disciplined. And when you think you've gotten structured enough, color in those lines, whatever it looks like for you, definitely. And the greatest tool for me has been to write down the structure of how my mind works, of my creative process. I know that I can sit down at a piano and write a song in less than 3 hours. It might not be the best song, but I know I can. And it's because I know how my mind works, and I know my creative process. And so I know what I'm capable of. And that's how you get better as an artist. Once you know what you're capable of, you can build off of that. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. I know that it was a little bit all over the board. But for me, I just wanted to share what has really helped me over the years, and some of the tricks that I've learned with procrastination and harnessing and leveraging that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Definitely comment and tell me what inspires you. Definitely comment and tell me what boundaries you're setting for your creative life. I would love to see them. I want to get inspired. I want to learn from you. Now is your time. If you haven't already, jump on our creative group. It's Evolve Community, and that will be on evolve-networks.com. And we're super excited. It's just a private platform for us to communicate with one another and do it without, prying eyes. Like, I can post a video of a rap that I want to share without feeling like my 7 aunts and their sisters are gonna see it. So, it's completely private, it's completely safe, and it's a judgment-free zone. So I hope to see you there this week, and we will see you next Sunday. Have a great day.